What's up, YouTube? It's the Console Samurai with Grown Ups Gaming. And Nintendo announced a new fighter to their Super Smash Bros. Roster. It is Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. Now, I don't generally talk about which fighters are joining which rosters because it's not a really big announcement. It's just, it's okay, it's cool, Cloud's coming to this. But I've seen a lot of people saying that they're just doing this because he's popular. That theory doesn't really hold water to me. I think that there actually is a bigger reason why Cloud is coming to Smash Brothers. There's actually two theories, and both of them I think are really interesting, and I'm going to talk about them. The reason why I don't think it's just because he's popular is because Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII has been popular pretty much since the game came out on PlayStation 1. 20 years ago? Something like that? So the idea that he's just popular now doesn't really make much sense. One theory I've read, and one theory I've heard, is that this means this is kind of foreshadowing for a game that's coming out in the future. Everyone is very excited for the Final Fantasy VII Remake that's coming to the PlayStation 4. Well, there's now a rumor going around that it's also coming to the Nintendo NX. Again, we don't know much about the NX, but they do say it's going to be more powerful than the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One. So there's no reason that the Final Fantasy VII Remake wouldn't be able to run on it. It really would just come down to a case of, would they allow it? Would they port it over? And I think this is actually really good news if this does come true, because the idea of Nintendo and Square Enix, unfortunately, working together, the Final Fantasy series, once again, that could be really amazing. Because if you ask any Final Fantasy gamer who's been a fan for a long time, they will generally point out the Super Nintendo Final Fantasy games as the best ones, as the gold standard by which all Final Fantasy games are judged. And it is true, and there's a reason for that. The two companies, Nintendo and Square, worked so well together on them that the games were really, really good. But unfortunately, we haven't seen that in a while. So the idea that maybe Nintendo and Square Enix are kind of patching things back up, and they're going to work together again, could be a really good thing. And I know that they have been working together on some games. For instance, Dragon Quest X was actually on the Wii, and it did very well in Japan. We didn't get it over here in the States, but it did do very well. And there have been various DS and 3DS re-releases of Dragon Quest games. But Square Enix and Nintendo have not really worked together the same way that they once did back on the Super Nintendo. And if they were to return to that, that would be amazing. So that could be a really good thing. Now the other theory, and this one I actually think is very true. As I mentioned, Nintendo and Square have a long history of working together. And that goes all the way back to the NES, throughout all of Nintendo's history. This year, as many of you know, as I mentioned in a previous video, Nintendo's president, Satoru Iwata, died. He passed on, and as I said, they have always had a very close working relationship. So, one theory I've read is that Cloud being in Super Smash Bros. Is a sort of eulogy to Iwata, who really loved Square Enix, and he really loved all of the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy VII actually being one of his favorite of the entire series, which I can't fault him for that. It was a good game. It wasn't a great game like many people say, but it was still a very good game. And Square Enix had, the presidents of Square Enix had a lot of love for Nintendo, and especially for Iwata. So the theory that this is all sort of a tribute to him makes a lot of sense to me, and it is a very nice thing. But what do you think? Tell me what you think. Do you think that this Square and Nintendo thing might actually be coming back together, and they'll be working together and making games once more, and that Cloud being in Smash Bros. Is just the beginning? Or do you think that it's more a case of kind of a tribute to Iwata, or perhaps a case of both, a combination of the two? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Once again, I am the Console Samurai, and I'll see you around.